so I just pulled that out very carefully. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rinse the surface of the plate. I want to get any extra acrylamide off the surface of the plate that might be there. And in fact, I'm going to unclamp it here. Now I need to be careful at this point because I don't want to do anything that's going to put any pressure on the plate that would tend to shift the plates, because obviously it's pretty much just the gel that's holding the plates together. They're not stuck together particularly well. So I'm going to rinse this off both sides like that. And actually, I always like to take some distilled water and actually squirt it down into each of the 10 wells, because occasionally you'll get a little chunk of acrylamide that is stuck in those wells, and it'll actually lead to getting like a deformed band in your actual lane when you stain the gel later. Okay, so I've got one gel here. Every gel rig is a little bit different. This is one of the newer ones that we have from Biorad, but I'm going to try to get the excess water out of those wells now at this point. So what's going to happen is the shorter of the two plates basically faces up against this rubber gasket here. Okay, so this thing fits down into these little notches. The other system is similar to this. Okay, and then usually you have two gels that you put in, and that forms the inner chamber. But because one of our gels we had an issue with, we're going to use this little thing here, Buffer Dam, D-A-M, not the other, that it says this side towards gasket. Okay, so this is going to fit down in here. And then basically I slide these clamps up, and that applies pressure so that hopefully this inner chamber will be liquid tight. Okay. In fact, if it's not liquid tight, what's going to happen is we're going to have to keep running over here and pulling some buffer out of the bottom of the chamber and putting it back in up top. So that's basically it. That's how you assemble the gel rig. Good idea to at least make sure that they don't have a massive leak in them before I start them running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the buffer into the interior of the chamber here. And I need to basically just let this buffer come up so it's over the inner plate. Okay? And I'm going to do that for this one as well. And then basically once I've poured the buffer in these two chambers, oops, I almost over flooded that one, I might just let that sit there for 5 or 10 minutes and come back and see. If I have a bunch of buffer in the bottom of this tank, then I know I've got a significant leak, and I probably need to disassemble my apparatus and try to make sure that it's relatively tight before I start going. Because otherwise, we're going to start electrophoresis, the buffer will leak out, and once the buffer leaks below the level of that smaller plate, you'll have no current going through the gel, and therefore you'll be off doing your thing, and you'll come back an hour later and find your proteins have gone nowhere. Okay? It's a very sad situation when that happens.